Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. Dan, I'm Dan. I'm joined as ever by LB, but no Dan today. Man like Henry Wright is here with me. We're talking transfers, we're talking Euros, we're talking tapping up managers and much more. But how are you, boys? You well?
Yeah, man, all good. You subbed in a fan from the correct North London club, didn't you, Henry? You know what I mean?
That's
Dan,
it, mate. Yeah,
none of that subbed out. You know what I mean?
None of that lot down the road, mate. None of that lot.
The original North Londoners. Londoners.
Oh, how is that sort of? Who was the first club in North London?
We were. They're from Woolwich.
Is that actually like factual, or is that like
legit? Yeah, like you can do the research.
Yeah, like Woolwich Arsenal is a place in southeast London.
Right.
Okay. And then they moved over in what, the 40s?
Yeah, it's not even that long. Like football was around a good sort of 60, 70 years before they moved there.
And then they go, North London is ours, but you weren't there for 70 years, mate.
That's not true, though. This well back Arsenal. They came and took over your manor, bruv. That's why it's even more embarrassing.
Takeover was there. Like, let's be real, but yeah.
So that song that they sing, North London Forever, it's just not the first 40 years of their. Is that what it is? I don't know. I'm just genuinely asking it.
Yeah, genuinely, like they weren't in North London for, I think it's close to 50 years, 40 years, something like that. And then they come and obviously had a very good.
Why did they move?
Because Woolwich is a bit of a carsey, to say the least.
Oh, is it? All right.
Have you been to Tottenham?
I wasn't going to say it's much better. I mean, I wouldn't wear any nice jewelry or any nice clothing unless you're on a match day.
Most of London, outside the city of London, up until sort of the early 2000s, when everywhere got gentrified, everywhere was horrible, really, other than the posh bits. Do you know what I mean? So
that's a bit of history for the show. I didn't never knew that. Thanks for that.
Little bit. Viewers, make sure like buttons have been smashed. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel as well. I wanted to start off with a little bit of Man United today. It was reported last night by John Cross and a few other outlets that Southgate to Manchester United is now deemed to be unlikely because the times don't match up, because of course pre-season starts whilst the Euros is still going on, so there'd be a big overlap, and that's not how Ineos want to begin. What's your thoughts on that? Then a lot of the story has now gone towards Zerbi, and contact has been made and they're sounding it out. This was after an interview happened with Tuchel, and whether it's Tuchel rejecting United or vice versa, he isn't now going to be the manager. What would you make of it all, LB, in terms of United's new managerial pursuit? Of course, Ten Hag still in the job as well, must be said.
Yeah, no, I've seen a thing about Southgate, and it is true. I had this discussion on yesterday, actually, on a stream, and it is true. Like, if you was getting Southgate, the better England do, that'd be the worst for Man United, because it'd be, you want England to do bad, so then Southgate can come into the Man United job and get familiar with United, with the players, and get to work straight away. And of course, the longer that England go through the tournament, not that I think we'll go very far with this manager, but that's a separate argument, the worse it will be for Man United. So I kind of get it on one hand. What I would say is that I do think that if they do think, if Ineos feel that Southgate is the right man, then they probably should just accept it. But if they have a few options, I understand why they might put Southgate to one side. And as a United fan, I think you should be very happy about that, because I think Southgate's a fraud, man. I really do not rate this guy at all. As for Zerbi, as to where you go now, well, it's clear, whether it's the right decision or not, it's clear that Man United are not going to go for one of these more experienced managers. I know there was rumours of talks with Tuchel, not 100% sure what happened there. Did he reject United? Did United reject him? It looks like it's going to be like a Zerbi style type guy. So the question you've got to ask yourself is a Zerbi better than Ten Hag? And I'm sitting here thinking, I don't rate Ten Hag. I think this is another fraud. Is he better than Ten Hag? I know. Now I know Ten Hag has just had the worst Premier League result in Man United history, but he has won 2 trophies in 2 years, right? How many trophies has Zerbi won? I think he's won 1 Ukrainian Super Cup or something like that. I'm not so sure. Listen, it's not a great situation to be, but I'm not so sure you can sell to me that Zerbi is a better option than Ten Hag. And that's saying something, because I really don't rate Ten Hag.
I know you don't.
Where
they're playing,
all season he ripped into me and him.
I really don't rate him. But to be balanced and fair, Terry, I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, go and get Zerbi. He's better because people hype up Zerbi, and I get that like the way he plays football can be kind of exciting and that. But like, if you actually look at his record, he's had some dodgy jobs. I'm pretty sure he got sacked twice when he was in Italy, right? In his first 2 jobs, he had a terrible record. Go and have a look at it; it's horrendous. Then he went to Shakhtar Donetsk and done all right there, won 1 trophy. But I don't know, I could be wrong, but like in Shakhtar Donetsk, pretty one of the better teams in Ukraine, man. Like they're always in the they're always in the Champions League. So I thought like that wouldn't be too difficult, but could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong on that. He's gone to Brighton. First year, done well, but he did kind of just take over from where Potter left off. And that is facts. I mean, look where Brighton were when Potter was there. Like, he just carried on. Last year, didn't do so well. I'm just not too sure. I just don't know if United will get rid of Ten Hag for Zerbi. And I think the proof is he's still there. I don't fully buy this whole, if they sack him now, then they've got to pay his wages in this calendar year. I don't really buy that, to be honest with you. I just don't. I think United are in a tricky spot. I don't think they know what to do. I think they're confused.
I mean, I think the PSR thing and that does play a part. I mean, it's weird that I know the transfer. When did the transfer window officially open?
Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
But the fact there's been so few pieces of business by anybody tells you that I think a lot of clubs are thinking about the money. I know that the Euros and Copa America being on is a factor as well, and I think that all acts in. I do get your point. I do get your point about is he better? And the answer is I don't know. Now, subjectively speaking, I love the way Zerbi plays. I think there's an excellent manager in there. There's no doubt. You go back through his managerial record, and there's some reading that makes you want to delve into it a little bit deeper. You know, he went to Palmelo and was there for like 2 or 3 months. Only had a 7% win ratio, but you know did well at Sassuolo, did well at Shakhtar Donetsk. Whilst he's been at Shakhtar and at Brighton, the likes of Man City, your club, arguably the best run team in England, put him on a shortlist to replace Pep. That doesn't mean he's like 100% going to be an elite level genius. He's being monitored, and I think it's wise that we talk to him and we look at him. I quite like our approach, though. And I know there'll be people that will say, well, Ten Hag's being disrespected. He's in a job. No, he isn't. No one currently is the head coach of Manchester United Football Club, actually. Ten Hag is the manager. Ten Hag is the manager. A lot of his responsibilities, barring being the head coach of the first team and picking the first team on match days, pretty much every other responsibility he's got is being taken away. So although he's in the organization as the manager, that role as of the beginning of next season, which you essentially say starts in preseason, so that's going to be 3 to 4 weeks away, his role will no longer exist in the game. It doesn't exist anymore. He either has to decide that he wants to take I wouldn't call it a watered down version, but it's a very different role to what he currently has, or whether he wants to stay. And then we have to go out and interview and speak to football, even if they're managers we're not sure on. Just listen to what they've got to say. Just listen to some of their ideas, some of their thoughts and feelings towards what we're trying to build, because you can learn off that. Anyone who's ever conducted genuine interview processes for jobs, I've had ideas of candidates that I haven't employed on how they would implement particular styles and improve sales. I'm like, that's a bloody good idea. I'm not hiring you because you're not right for us, but I'm going to take that little bit of information. And I quite like what we're doing in that regard. I'm personally a fan of Zerbi, but it's all about the right structure and the right approach for me. And that's what I've focused more on. There are people that want Ten Hag to stay, and I said it all along. I'm going to be objective about it. If he stays, I'll get behind it. If we bring in a new manager, I'm going to get behind it. My belief remains the same from top to bottom, inside out. We may even take steps backwards before we move forward, because this is what I call a genuine rebuild. Not what Liverpool are going through, where they've got a new manager coming in after 9 years. Not what maybe City are going to go through next summer, where they might have to rebuild the midfield if Bernardo Silva and KDB leave. But actually, it's a rebuild where so many facets of the club, from literal rebuilding of stadiums and training grounds to the board changing, medical team changing, potentially the coaching staff changing, player overhaul, the whole club is going to be rebuilt. And Man United fans who have deluded themselves for the best part of a decade into thinking, all we need is a decent manager and a couple of ballers, and we're going to be back on the top. They're still drinking that Kool-Aid. They're the same people that said, sack LVG, this squad's good enough to win the league. Sack Jose, this good team's good enough to win the league. Sack Ollie, this team's good enough to win the league. It's changed a little bit now to sack Ten Hag, get rid of Bruno and Rashford, and this team's good enough to win the league. It's honestly, I cannot believe that the way Man United fans go on. I don't even worry about what rivals think to a certain degree. Obviously, I want your opinions on the show, but we are literally knocking everything down and starting again. And everybody's talking like the way they're criticizing this process of hiring a new manager. It's almost like we're a brilliant team and all we need is the right manager to get us over the line. That's not where we are. It's like, wake up and smell the coffee. This is going to take a long time to get fixed. So we have to be diligent. We have to go for it. And you are right. The managerial market, the managers that are available to us, none of them are outstanding candidates where you go, I've got zero question marks over that individual. But that's what happens after 10 years of neglect and absolute criminality being performed on our football club.
Yeah,
so,
as well. Can I just say as well, right? I completely did sort of disagree with any notion that he's being disrespected here, Ten Hag. If anything, he's been given more respect because United haven't just got to the end of the season and gone, right, see you later. You are literally that bad, although I think he's bad. But they've not done that. They've kept him in place. And whether that is for an FFP reason, let's just assume it's not for 1 second. They're now looking at other managers and they're comparing these managers to what they've currently got with Ten Hag. They're not just getting rid of him and then panicking and trying to find someone. That would have been disrespectful because it's like, oh, you think I'm that bad? And again, I do think he is, but the club don't. You think I'm that bad that you can just get rid of me and just get anyone better? They're literally going through a list of managerial candidates and comparing them to what they've currently got with Ten Hag. And if they find a manager that they feel is better for the job than Ten Hag, then they'll get rid of him. And rightly so. Any team should do that, by the way. If any team finds a manager that's better than the current manager, they should get rid of him and get a new manager.
It's absolutely true. And this crazy thing of loyalty. What do you mean loyalty? And if you think you can make the team, and the problem is with a lot of people in this world, everybody thinks short term. So they'll say, well, Ten Hag's won us 2 trophies. You might replace Ten Hag and then next year not win a trophy. So people go, wrong decision, didn't win a trophy. They're not looking beyond the end of their nose. They're not thinking about what the club has to do. We haven't challenged for a league title in 11 years. Let that sink in. And as much as winning the FA Cup and League Cup is amazing, and I celebrate it and I want those trophies, when you're the size of Man United and you spend what we spend, if you are not competing for your league, you are failing. Overall, you are failing as a football club. And we need to make tough decisions that are going to benefit the football club in the medium to long term and stop thinking with sentimentality. So many fans moan, oh, why are we giving that player another contract? It's sentimental. If we believe we're bringing in a better manager that in the medium to long term is going to achieve more, we have to go with it. If suddenly Pep was available to the rest of the world, it would not be disrespectful to Arteta to say, see you later, we're bringing in Pep. It's literally an upgrade. Now, I understand people have got a question mark, and this is where the debate comes in. Is De Zerbi actually better than Ten Hag? That remains to be seen. But at the same time, most Man United fans have been screaming for highly qualified football decision makers at the club for a decade. We now have those individuals, and we can't even go 5 minutes of sitting back and saying, I disagree with this decision, but I'm going to be supportive, sit back, relax, and see what this yields, see what fruit this produces for us and how it tastes. There's none. It's very strange to me. And there's multiple reasons. Some people just can't see beyond the end of their nose. I think there are some people that I'm not going to lie that are addicted to being angry. I think they're like addicted to their club being bad. It's almost like how they get their dopamine release, if that makes sense. But like Henry, what do you make of the potential approach for De Zerbi?
I actually agree with LB. Like, I don't know if he is better than a Ten Hag. He's got nothing on his CV to really justify that. I mean, what's the Ukrainian league? Like the 25th best league in Europe. 28th best league in Europe, something like that. What I was saying yesterday with Man United is I don't really think people realise how big that rebuild is. And when you've just explained about it's not just the team, it's the entire club from the top to the bottom. Gareth Southgate, for instance, if he comes in, yes, the narrative from the media is the squad's collectively together, but we've got one of the best squads we've had in since the golden generation, haven't won anything. I'm right on the fence. Part of me say stick with Ten Hag because new ownership's coming in. They're going to be taking care of the transfers. It's going to be no Anthony, no Malacia, no Mason Mount. But then on the other side, I'm thinking, well, the club have come out and said they want a possession-based manager. Ten Hag in this Man United team at the moment isn't. When he was at Ajax and you got one of the best academies in world football churning out talent on a regular basis and he's just coaching the team, then yes, he can be a possession-based manager. And then also think, do the ownership want to have a brand new start with a brand new manager? I think United fans, and this isn't patronising, I think there's going to have to be a lot of patience here because this is going to be up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I know Standards FC will come out and say, oh, yeah, the game is about winning and all that. This Man United squad might have just won an FA Cup, but they are miles away from City. They're miles away from Arsenal, let alone City. So, no, as it stands right now, I don't think Zerbi is the right guy. I'd look at, I would have gone for, and I know this goes completely against the grain, but I would have gone for someone like Thiago Motta, who's just gone to Juventus, because he took over a Bologna side that were absolutely diabolical. They were practically challenging for a Champions League position up against the Juves and the Napolis and the Romas and the Milans, and they finished just below it. Now he's gone to Juventus. He's about to sign Douglas Luiz as his first signing from Aston Villa, which to me is a massive shock. But I think in the way he plays, it is similar to Zerbi, but he's kind of got something there. I mean, where did he finish? Was it Sassuolo? They finished, 8th or 7th? Brighton have finished in Europa League the following year. They've been awful. He's only ever managed and won a trophy in Ukraine. I don't know, and is there a better manager out there right now available?
This Motta, how many seasons has Motta been managing?
Oh, we're talking that is a massive, massive risk. He's only managed 2 years. It's a massive risk. I admit that, but it's a massive risk with Zerbi because you're talking about bringing someone in that's only won in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I don't look at any of this as a massive risk. It's a risk, but none of it's massive for Man United. If I do believe in the structure that we're building. The problem is why it's always been a risk before is you bring managers in on long, big contracts and we give them carte blanche. They pick the players they want. They can fucking change the way the training ground operates. They can kick people out the training ground. They can dictate the style of football. So you're upending everything. And 18 months in, 2 years in, you go, we're changing it now. So you start all over again. Say it is Zerbi, but he doesn't do a good enough job. It doesn't undo the work that the club's doing in terms of trying to implement a style of play, types of players that you sign. As long as we keep moving in the same direction, you can have head coaches that fail. That doesn't mean you need a rebuild. A head coach failing doesn't equal rebuild. Football fans this is where I think the phrases like rebuild and process have started to frustrate people because everybody tries to use it. And if Pep leaves tomorrow, City don't need a rebuild. They need a new head coach. They don't need a rebuild of the club.
It's the same as Liverpool.
Liverpool, they don't need you might need to rebuild your defense or, you can call it a transitional period. But City's expectations wouldn't go from we want to win the league to it's okay not to because Pep leaves. Because your club is at that stage now. So for me, I've been talking about this for a decade. I stand by it. That's why we have to stop hiring managers and we have to hire head coaches. Because that way, if the head coach fails, it's a plug and play. You're bringing somebody new in to work that particular area, as opposed to somebody that's going to try and then start redesigning the club again in his or hers, most likely him in Mal football, but in his or hers image. That has got to stop. And the fact that Man United fans still haven't cottoned on to that after all this time is mental to me, that they can't see. I still feel like there's this romantic attachment to one day having another Fergie. Not going to happen because coaches and managers are not trained to do that anymore, especially if we're bringing anybody in from the continent. I don't know about every nation, but the major European nations, their clubs have never really run like that. They've always had a kind of president stroke footballing director that's run the club with a head coach. So they're not being trained in other nations to be able to manage an entire institution the size of Manchester United. It's honestly, it's mind-numbing for me. Super chats here. First one says, oh, hit the like button for Mr. LB's beautiful smile. Donna's back, LB. Mr. LB, it's time to say yes to my knock on your heart. Oh. Mr. LB, I'm serious about you. Let's be happy together.
Look at
Does anyone know who Donna Cullen is, by the way?
Nah, no one knows.
You should know she is.
Yeah, I know who she is. But I'm saying
she's the one who Daniel Levy's knocking off on your board.
Yeah, she's on the board of Tottenham.
Yeah. Mr. Henry and Mr. LB are the most beautiful fans around.
What on earth are we doing here?
I get what one, Mr. Terry. More beauty on the stream today. Yes, thank you, Donna, for your lovely comments. Joshua here says, as soon as we won the FA Cup, people's brains switched to think we're a good team. We finished 8th. We finished bottom of our Champions League group. I find it mental that people are trying to forget that we are not building nothing. Look, listen, for I felt like bad talking about his job, and I barely spoke about it for a week or so after the FA Cup final out of respect. But we have to look at it. His job has to be questioned because we have to try and get better as a team. And if they decide he's the right guy to take us forward, fair enough. But we have to question it with all the changes going on. This year from an Arsenal fan, Hansky says, Spurs are from Middlesex. North London was expanded to include Middlesex after Arsenal arrived.
Oh,
I don't know if that's actually true.
Well, we can Google that.
Yeah, we can Google that. We can ask
When
ChatGPT.
did Tottenham become part of North London? Right, let's see what it says. It says here in 1965, the county of Middlesex disappeared, mostly into Greater London, with the odd bit going into other surrounding counties. The name Middlesex lives on as a postal district and the name of the county cricket club. So Tottenham only became part of London in 1965.
Oh, no.
Man,
And when was Arsenal? When did Arsenal become part
Arsenal
of
moved there in like 1913 or something.
Oh, it's not 1913, but it's like 1940 or whatever it is.
Hang on, okay, so when...
So hang on a minute. They are the original North London club, not Tottenham.
I'll hold my hands up. I didn't know that.
No. It says here, in 1913, as soon as after relegation back to second division, Woolwich Arsenal moved to the new Arsenal Stadium in Highbury. It's 1913. They've been there since.
So they are the original. All right, fair enough.
Arsenal are the original. I mean, I'm going to go, Terry's twerking for Arsenal. It's just the facts. I can't help that.
I might have to go on loan to another football club for a little while.
Jesus,
wow.
giving us misinformation, bro.
Crazy.
What are you doing, bro?
Crazy. You're not. Imagine that. You weren't the original North London club. Oh my God.
So why do we sing? I'm not even going to bother.
No, say it. Go on.
What
do
we
you
sing
sing?
F off back to Woolwich, North London is ours, but they're the original North London club.
Bro,
So what's that all about?
This is how bad it is. You're so displaced. Your county, where you're from, don't even exist anymore, bruv. You can't even go back.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Henry, what's going on here, mate? You've had
That's an absolute mare, that, and at the highest level.
Big up Arsenal, the original OG club, man.
The original North Londoners.
Yeah, we'll be back next week, Henry. If you want to go and do some research and come back next week and maybe come back, maybe the super chat is wrong, man. Who knows?
History's the killer. History's the killer for people when they find out the truth. Because you look positively broken right now, Henry.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Broken. Speaking of people being broken, have you seen a lot of Man United fans get stick for saying that watching Kobe Mainoo reminds me of Seedorf? Have you guys seen that? People say that.
Yeah, I see you quote tweeted saying earlier.
Turns out that Clarence Seedorf says that he reminds me of a young me with his body and his movement. That's exactly what we says. But he says that he's got more maturity on the ball. I think he's been very humble here, Clarence Seedorf. He was amazing as a young man, but I just thought it was funny. Because none of us are saying he's as good as Clarence Seedorf. We're just saying the way he moves reminds us of him. So stick that one in your pipe and smoke it. So our FA Cup winner. 19 years old. He dunked on his local rivals. Can't write it.
Have you boys seen that Juventus are like now in advanced talks to get Douglas Luiz?
Yes.
Yeah. And
they're giving them Illing Jr. and Weston McKennie and 20 million euros.
And apparently City still have a 20% sell-on fee. So I don't know how that works if they're getting players.
No, you'll get part of the fee. So you'll get like 20% of the 8 million.
Of the 20 million.
Of the 20 million, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but is that not like a... Surely that's not right though, Terry, because like...
Well,
if you're a club...
Sorry.
Because if you're a club, surely then you would be more willing to do player deals, because if you get a player in, you'd be like, well, we'd have to pay the sell-on fee now because we've got a player in. So surely it's structured in a different way.
Yeah. It will be depending on how it's worded. If it might say total valuation of the sale. If it says like the valuation of the cash, like if it might mention the cash part of the sale. If it says valuation, then there'll probably be a sort of a conversation between the two clubs around, well, the deal, we value the deal at 50 million or whatever. So yeah, you guys are going to earn something out of it. But do you know what I find mad about it? I understand, but you know, a few weeks ago when there was talk, will Arsenal come in for him? Why would he leave Villa with how well they're doing to play for Arsenal? Bigger club. Why is he leaving Villa? Who've just got in the Champions League to play for Juve? Because they're just, I don't mean it rudely to Aston Villa. I know you've got European success, a very long time ago, but you pale into insignificance compared to a Juve. They are just an exponentially bigger football club entity. The status of playing for a club like that is crazy. The only element that's frustrating is, I know we do it to stop our rivals getting played, but no one in the Prem could get him this cheap. That's the bit that annoys me, is whether it's to ourselves or us buying off our European counterparts, it's so expensive for our clubs to buy players. You could never pay 20 million and swap a couple of okay players to get someone like Douglas Luiz in England. There's no way. There would no way they would accept it.
No chance. How much has he probably gone for then? We're saying like 50 mil. Is that what we're valuing?
Samuel Illing Jr. is like according to Transfer Market is worth 28 million euro.
And
Weston McKennie's worth 20 million euro.
Yeah, Weston McKennie's worth a Space Raiders.
We're looking around 55 mil. There's no way. I do not see any English club getting him for 55 mil if an English club went.
And that's euro as well, so that's like probably 48 million pounds.
Yeah, no way, man.
Yeah,
no
it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You see it already. Villa are going to have players taken away. There's talk today that Ati are going to buy the Girona striker.
Ukraine one.
Yeah. That he's going to go there. You've seen a couple of the Bayer Leverkusen players. He's
a machine, that striker, by the way. He got golden
them. Even Lookman, who had the final, scored the hat trick. 2 or 3 bigger clubs now looking at him. This is what happens. But yeah, it's just kind of stopped to a degree in England, where you can sort of take players off each other a little bit easier. But I still think, I don't know what Arsenal's plans are, but they should just be all over this Douglas Luiz situation. Stick a bid in, maybe try and turn his head. He is willing to leave Aston Villa, of course he is, for a bigger football club. I think he's an excellent player. I really think he's excellent.
Didn't he win their Player of the Year as well?
He may have done.
Watkins, surely. Surely it was Watkins who won the Player of the Year.
I could have sworn
he got like his G&A was wild. Surely it was Watkins.
Douglas Luiz did well as well. He got.
I know he did. I know he did well.
Ollie Watkins won Supporters Player of the Year and Players Player of the Year.
I could have sworn I see on Twitter Luiz was holding like a little award.
Nah,
I don't know.
Regardless, he had a really good season. He got like 16, 15 GA.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's a good player, man. He's a good player. We obviously signed him
back at City. Because if Rodrygo goes out, who's in that role?
Well, this is who we're linked with, isn't it? We're linked with Kimmich. We're linked with Bruno. Yeah, probably would take him. Yeah.
How old's Kimmich now? He's what, 28?
29 years. But apparently it's cheap, man. Apparently you can get him for cheap because he's only got 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah, I've seen
about Goretzka as well, aren't they? Like, both of them.
Nah, you don't want it.
Did finally get called up for the German squad. There was talk about him not being in it.
No, I don't rate him, mate. I don't rate him.
What?
I don't rate that. Goretzka.
You don't rate Goretzka? Did you watch him in both the legs against Arsenal? He was unreal.
I watched him. Nah, I don't rate him. I don't rate him. Never rated him, really.
Really? Oh,
since he packed on the muscle. I'm like, what's he doing? You remember when he
they do that? Like, I don't know what they're feeding him over, like in Munich, but Lewandowski all of a sudden.
What's that like do?
A Gary Cahill arms.
What's his game?
Box to box DM, really.
Nah.
He's everywhere. He's absolutely
Box to box
Yeah.
DM. How does that work?
Who's the guy? Is it Lima?
How does box to box DM work?
No, he's box to box, but can play DM. Like him and Lima. If you watch the way they're constantly rotating, and then they have Musiala in front.
Oh, is that like those defense? Is that like those defensive strikers? Do you know what I mean? Box to box DM.
Nah, not for me. I just don't rate him, man. Personally, and he's 29 as well. So
yeah, I think Goretzka's okay. I think he's okay. I think he's okay. Okay. Again, I'm talking here on the elite end of the spectrum. So I'm not saying he's a championship player.
Yeah. Not Spurs level.
Yeah, I think he's
I'd take
okay.
Spurs in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I know you would.
Yeah, but you would. You're Spurs, mate.
So as a Man United fan, you wouldn't take Leon Goretzka in your midfield.
I'm not saying I wouldn't take him. He's better than what we've got. See, this is what people do, right? He is
No,
definitely
I'm not saying you're. I'm just
he's
saying
better than Scott McTominay. I'm not going to deny you that. But I want.
How many teams in the league does he start for?
He don't start for us. He
Doesn't
doesn't start
start
for
for
us.
everyone other than the top two.
Doesn't start for City. I don't know if he starts for Liverpool, you know.
I think he does.
But you saying, but is he a DM? I don't really know.
He can play the 6. But his actual role is the 8 in the way Bayern play.
Okay, so he's the 8. Who am I taking? Him or McAllister? I'm taking McAllister.
Yeah, but McAllister's played the 6 a lot of this season.
Yeah, but that's because they haven't got 6.
Yeah, he didn't mean to. He wasn't meant to.
It's not meant to be the way. Like, I think he's a good player, but I don't. I mean, they only value him at 30 million euros, though. Now, if you could pick him up for about 20 million, 25 million pounds, that's not a bad bit of business to strengthen your midfield. But the way people talk about him as this linchpin to a midfield, I don't know if he's that guy.
Nah. I've never watched him and thought, yeah, he's a baller. Never watched him and thought he's a baller.
See, look, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not better than Scott McTominay, but I'm saying if we're going to invest the money with cost, and I'm talking salary here, I would maybe want to go for better than him. I think he's okay. I think he's good. I'm not saying he's bad. I think he's good. Yeah, Kimmich, on the other hand, different level, different gravy. But that's just me. Maybe that's just me. Another super chat here says maybe with the incoming changes to the salary cap, Premier League clubs are more inclined to do player swaps to go around those limits. Yeah, I mean that's gonna. I mean, that could definitely come in that way. Oh, Mr. Terry, you express my messages best with feel. Like it. Cheers, Don. Appreciate that. Always good. Always a good chat. I want to speak about another transfer. I want to get your opinions on this, boys. I forgot what club he's at. Crystal Palace have briefed the media today, stating that anyone that wants to sign Michael Olise has to agree the fee with us first before talking to the player. This comes after some reports that Chelsea have verbally agreed personal terms with the player. They were, of course, threatened last year by Crystal Palace for tapping the player up. Seems like they're laying the ground again now, Crystal Palace, by saying you come to us first and then we give you permission. What are you saying?
I thought he had a release clause, did he not? Does he not have a release clause? I thought he had a release clause, like 60 mil or something like that. Maybe I misread it. Maybe it's someone else.
But they're saying that they're saying that you have to put that bid through us and get it accepted before you still speak to our player.
Well, I mean, they're probably technically right, but I mean, I imagine that if you're going to sign the player, I mean, let's be honest, yeah, no one's doing a transfer the way transfers are meant to be done. No one's agreeing a deal with the club, not speaking to a player or an agent at all, and then once it's agreed, goes to the player and the agent and goes, "Hey, mate, we've agreed a deal for him to join our club. Do you fancy join?" No one does that. There's always at least a call to an agent first to say, "Hey, mate, it's Man City. Hey, mate, it's United. It's Tottenham. Whatever. We're interested in agreeing a deal. Would your client, the player, be happy to join us? What kind of wage you're looking at?" Yeah, sweet, right. We're probably all right to. They probably don't agree like full personal terms. They might do it sometimes, but they probably agree like a little outline. Then they go to the club, agree the deal, do the personal terms. Bob's your uncle. No one's doing the deals the way they're meant to be doing.
I don't think Elise's leaving anyway. I don't think he's going to go.
Go on, expand on that.
Because there's a lot of players at Palace being linked away, right? You've got Gahey's, who's got 2 years left on his deal. He's been linked to a move away. We've been after Eze for probably this will be the second window now. You know, we've been in contact with him. He's a lot of the same agency as our players. I don't see a window in which Palace sell both Olise and Eze. And out of the two, I think Eze is more likely to go. I mean, we said this yesterday on the terrace. If you're Olise and you've got Chelsea and Man United after you, I personally think he'd be better at Man United because they've already got Cole Palmer, Madueke, and Konku can play out there. And on the right, you know, they've got, I mean, Anthony, he's a bit naff.
Yeah, but doesn't Eze have a release clause as well, though, Henry?
Yeah, he does. 68, 60 million
it's not
with
really
8
in
million
Palace's
add-ons.
control, though, is it?
But as that comment I put up a few minutes ago said, and I've read this, is that it's the thing with a lot of the English clubs that have these release clauses. They're not the same as some on the continent. They're a little bit more complex in the sense of, because some players have what they call a release clause, but then when you go for the nitty gritty, it just says, well, all it actually says is we have to tell the player that the bid's come in. They don't actually have to accept it. There are others where they have to hit a certain limit, but the club still needs to give the okay, which I find strange because what's the point of a release clause if it doesn't instantly trigger it? So you get a lot of that, but I just think that I think a little bit of this is Palace panic. I do agree with you, LB, that they've got two players that want to leave with release clauses. They started playing well at the end of the season, so suddenly a player like Mateta, who I don't care about all the hipsters that suddenly fall in love with a player because of form. Nobody wanted to buy him at any club in England or Europe throughout the whole of last season until the last 3 months. Suddenly, he looks like sort of a peak Lukaku. Do you know what I mean? You know, quick, bullish, you know, excellent, actually probably better technically on the ball, if I'm being honest, than Lukaku. Lukaku's first touch was pretty poor, where Mateta's is pretty decent. But it's just, I think Palace are a little bit worried. They're going to, just when they start looking good under their new manager, they might end up losing their players and they're kind of sending out this threat, as it were. But you are right. No club conduct themselves by the letter of the law when it comes to transfers. No one.
Of course not. And that is true. That is sad for Palace, right? But at the end of the day, like, that's the deals that they've agreed. They've agreed to put those release clauses in there. They're going to get, I imagine, quite a bit of money. You know, what's the Eze release clause? Do we know what that is?
He's got 60 million release clause with 8 million in add-ons.
And what's
I personally think I think that deal was already done.
And Olise is the same, is it? 60 mil.
I think Olise, I believe until he signed his new deal, it was like 34 million. Then he signed his new contract last season, and now there's various different reports. He's probably around the same, but I personally think Olise will stay another year. Similar to the Sesko situation.
Well, why is no one activating that then? Because 60 million quid from Olise, am I missing something? That seems like pretty decent value this day and age.
I'm surprised City haven't looked at him either. On that right-hand side, I think he'd be absolutely brilliant the way you play, but it's Man United and Chelsea, they're two boys, but it seems that only Spurs and I think the only other one that's been linked to Eze is Newcastle. And there's all the reports that Newcastle have got to sell before they've got to buy. And then all of a sudden, the Bruno and the Isak links come out. I think City were looking at Wharton, wasn't there? Like rumors of it, they want 90 million for Wharton. Like the guy's he only just turned up from Blackburn in January. Like, boots on the floor. And this is why the Sesko news. I don't think people should be surprised he stayed at Leipzig. Like, I really don't. He's had one season in the Bundesliga where he's actually performed at a very, very good level. And he's only 21 years of age. Haaland was the same.
But the striker market's is a bit dead, so teams are taking more risks. Hence United with Haaland.
I get that, but like when Haaland, when Ollie was the manager, they wanted Haaland a lot, right? He said 1 more year in the Bundesliga, smashed it once again, and then City come crawling. Are we not like? I know the striker market is dead, but has he got to like walk before he can run? You've had one season in the Bundesliga, and I guess you could, to my point about Thiago Motta earlier, like he probably needs another year in management before he gets linked to a Man United job. Do we not need to like boots on the floor before we start? Like,
but the problem is by that time the player's gone. They've gone to a bigger club. So let's say Sesko does stay. He's staying. He stays this year. Smashes it again this year at Leipzig. Yeah.
But then you go back in for him. He's got more experience. He's got another year under his belt.
Right, and then they're competing with bigger and better clubs. Because then other clubs that need a striker, or the big clubs then will be like, yo, this guy's the one. So this is what I'm saying. Teams are now gambling earlier. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, by the way, but teams are gambling earlier on these young players because there's not a lot of good players out there. Now, I look at someone like Griezmann, apparently has a £12 million release clause. Yeah. I know he's 33, but he can do a job. You know what I mean? Go and get him. Dovkick, he's not an attractive type of player for an English Premier League side. No English club's ever going to get him.
Is that the Girona striker?
That's the Girona striker. You know, so I don't know, man. Like, who else are they going to get there? Are Arsenal going to sign someone? I've seen that they were linked with Solanke, 65 million. They're not getting Isak, bro.
You don't think they'll break the bank for it? They've already broken the bank for Declan Rice.
No, I don't think they will, and I don't think he'll be that desperate to go. He's only young, and he's 24 or something.
Yeah, but the point is,
Isak would drop Newcastle for Arsenal, surely.
1,000,000%.
I don't think he would. Not this summer. I'm checking now. He's 24. He's 25 in September. I don't think he's in any rush at all to make a move. I don't think he'd go this year. And by the way, how much money?
Knowing that they're in the Champions League and Newcastle aren't in Europe, you don't think he'd move?
Well, how much money do you have to? I'm Newcastle.
Well, you're probably gonna have to put 120 million on the table.
I'm rejecting it.
Yeah, well, if you were Isak, you'd reject that.
No, if I'm Newcastle, I reject.
Oh, sorry. What? 120 million pounds?
I think I don't look at that as a Newcastle and go. You got to understand, bro. Isak, what, top 5 strikers in the world?
Yeah, but then if he's 120 million, what's Haaland worth?
Well,
200 million?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, probably. I'm not accepting 120 if I'm Newcastle. I certainly wouldn't be like, yeah, defo accept it. So I don't think any Newcastle fan looks at 120 million and goes, oh, you know what, we need to cash in there. I don't think that's like a mad deal, personally. I don't, because you're not getting anyone as good as Isak, bro. Newcastle are a club on the up. They want to be retaining the best players. And by the way, if they do have to sell someone, they should sell Bruno. Because Bruno, in my opinion, will be easier to replace than someone Isak. Goal scorers, massively underrated these days. You know, so I don't think they'd get rid of him. I don't think he's that desperate. Maybe next year, he's 25 going on 26. If Newcastle's still not in the Champions League, maybe he'll look at it and go, I need to make a move. I want to be winning stuff. I want to be playing Champions League. Maybe, but it's not. I think he'll give him another year. And again, I don't think Newcastle will be desperate to sell for 120 million. Personally,
what do you think if he does? Like Arsenal are the team that obviously want a striker a lot more than you lot. But if what of Newcastle? Like, what's the fee for you that they go right? Okay, we'll accept it. 140 million.
Bro, for me, it's like, right, you got to accept that you're not going to get a striker as good as Isak, right? And I'm looking at it going, I need to be able to take this money and massively improve my team. So I'm looking at that 150, bro.
Well, and then if you had the 150 million, you could get an Olise, you could get another forward.
Yeah, exactly. I could go get Olise. I could go get... I have to replace a striker. Yeah, so I've got to go and get a decent striker. Who I get, again, I don't know. That's a difficult decision. I've got to go and get a striker. That's going to cost you, what, 50, 60 million for a half-decent one. Olise, you know, that costs you, that you'd up to 120. So you've only got 30 million left anyway. This is what I mean. Like, the money doesn't stretch far enough these days, man. Like, so I just don't think Newcastle will be that interested in selling him.
No, I don't think Newcastle will be interested in selling him, even if the bid was 200 million. It's more about whether Isak is going to push for it. Do they want to have your club has this mantra, LB, of the player doesn't want to be here, we will let him go within reason. You're never going to sell him to Manchester United, but if a player doesn't want to be at the club, you'll try and find a solution. You know, you did it with Ferran Torres, you did it with Sane as an example. So I think I think it's multi-layered in that regard. One of the interesting stories today in relation to Arsenal, as we sort of segued into it here from Sandine, says that Benjamin Sisko's decision to remain at Leipzig does not necessarily mean that Arsenal will switch their attention to another centre forward. The club is also keen to strengthen in the wide positions and may now prioritise a winger instead of a traditional striker. There are obviously links to Joshua Zirkzee that have come out today for Arsenal, which I think were going to happen because they were linked before. Sky Sports have linked Man United to him. But could that be an alternative for Arsenal to maybe themselves go after an Olise or an Eze that are linked to the other clubs, because they're in a much better position than Spurs, Chelsea and Man United. And maybe if you can add extra goals from wide positions, you can keep the sort of Kai Havertz move up front and they'll still be okay. Because they don't need, or do you guys think they need an out-and-out prolific number 9 to take them to that next level? Or is it just more goals in general they need?
Just more goals. They need someone else in that team who can get 14, 15 Premier League goals a season. Like everyone says about Haaland, he got He's the only one carrying them this season. We've Foden stepped up more than ever. De Bruyne, when he come back from injury, had a fantastic run. Doku's contributed, Rodri's contributed. With Arsenal right now, I just think they need more goals, another forward, or another attacking midfielder maybe. Because when Martinelli dropped off this season, his XG was very, very good, but I don't think I think he got 6 Premier League goals. Jesus didn't get that many either. Kai Havertz, I think he surprised a lot of people towards the end of the season. But I do think overall they need another forward who can get 15 Premier League goals. Because when the best teams in the world have someone they can lean on. Man City can lean on a Foden, can lean on a Haaland. Madrid can lean on a Vinny. Other than a Saka in that Arsenal team, who can they lean on to get 15 Premier League goals? I know Odegaard and Martinelli did it 2 years ago, but they don't really have anyone else who's going to drag them through it. And is it Joshua Zirkzee? I think he's at Bologna. I mean, that's another risk for me. I mean, only 1 year in Italy where he's done it again, but that's the market we're in. Rodrygo is a name that keeps being linked. I'm going to say this right now. Rodrygo is not going to leave Real Madrid for Arsenal.
Facts.
No chance. That is not happening. And you're talking, if we think Isak's 120 million, add 60 million to that. There's reports coming out. He's available for 90 million. Real Madrid are not going to sell a star boy.
Nah, and he's come out and said he don't want to leave anyway. So he ain't going there.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the sort of player they've got to bring in if they want to win the title. But
Henry, you know what it is for me? Yeah, I think they're a bit confused now. Because the way that Havertz ended the season really strong, I think that's kind of screwed him, because I don't think they know, should we stick with Havertz or should we go and get a killer? Because in January time last season or February time, pretty much everyone, even Arsenal fans, were yeah, we need a big striker next summer. We need a Tony. We need someone to lead the line. Now look how the conversations change. We don't even know what we're looking at here. Are we dropping Havertz? Because, by the way, all Arsenal fans are telling me that he can't play in the midfield. He's not good enough in the midfield. That's when they had the worst periods when Havertz played in the midfield. So what are we doing here? Are we dropping Havertz? But because of the way he ended, people are maybe we need to stick with Havertz. So then I think it's just kind of muddied the waters a little bit, to be honest with you, about what they need. They definitely need cover on the right for Saka for when he's injured, and they also need someone there to push him. Yeah, because I think last year he could have been better a lot, and I think he needs someone there to help push him up a level. I think he's too comfortable, is effectively what I'm saying. Decision needs to be made on Martinelli. Bad year last year. Is it a bad year? Can he get back good this year?
Not just last year as well. It's the year before that.
Yeah,
where he had a bad year.
He was good too. He was good in that first season.
I thought he was as well. I thought he was.
The season before that, he didn't have a great year. So when he got 15 Premier League goals, he was great.
Okay.
Hang on, not to get. Sorry, we'll go back to that in a minute. Not to get, How old was he? How old was he then? 3 years ago.
The age is irrelevant. If you're good enough, you're good enough.
I don't know. When you're 19, we can't be judging people on consistency at 19, can we?
No, I'm not judging him on consistency. I'm saying overall that season he wasn't that great. Then he was consistent for the next season, and then I don't think Martinelli was actually that bad last season. In terms of his output, he was, but he had quite a few good performances. I just think Kai Havertz has kind of got him out of jail a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So there's a decision that needs to be at the end of the day, right? Whatever team you are, whether you're City and just won the treble, whether you're Real Madrid, you have to look at your team and you have to look at weaknesses, right? And you have to look at the players and go, who can we improve on? Now, it's all good, Arsenal fans sitting here going, oh, yeah, but we love Martinelli. We've had him for a long time. He's a great. Right. Is he a consistent performer? Yes or no? Gabriel Jesus, what are you doing with him? You can't just buy and not get rid of people. And I think all fans of all clubs do this. Fans of my club do it as well. Fans love to talk about bringing players in. And then as soon as you talk about, right, well, who we're letting go then? No, we can't sell him. We can't sell him. Well, hang on a minute. We have a squad of 35 or something. You've got to get rid of players. And at the end of the day, and by the way, Arteta does come across as a bit of a ruthless manager. You know what I mean? That's one thing I will say about him. He will look at players like Gabriel Jesus. He will look at players like Martinelli, and he will look at them and say, "Are you good enough for me?" And if the answer is no, see you later. Don't matter what he did 18 months ago. Are you a consistent performer? Because ultimately, that's where Arsenal want to be. Arsenal want to be the clubs that are winning the Premier League, winning Champions League, and to do that, yeah, I know it. Terry knows it.
So can I ask you something? It'll be off the back of that.
Well,
off the back of that,
he don't know it.
Would you sell Jack Grealish?
Finished off. I'm not like fully against it, bro. I'm not fully against it. If City sold him, I wouldn't be sitting here saying, "What are we doing?"
Well, he's in a similar situation to Martinelli, where he's been very
not. No. He's not. He was a key component of our treble-winning side.
Yeah, but this season and his first season at City, he's been a bit very up and down.
Yeah. No, I agree. But he has more in the bank than Martinelli, 100%.
Oh yeah, he does.
I missed that. I read a message someone just in the. We were talking about Luke Chadwick.
Luke Chadwick. I'm talking about Jack Grealish, who's a key component of our winning side. I'm saying if Pep Guardiola looked at him and went, "Great, you were minting the treble winning side, but you weren't good in the first year, you weren't good last year, and I don't think you're going to be good this year. I'm selling you." Then that's the right thing to do if that's what he believes. My opinion on Grealish, though, I'd keep him for another year because I think he's got the credit in the bank. But it doesn't matter whoever you talk about. If you think someone's not that Nunes for me, he doesn't fit Man City, I'd sell him.
Yes,
I don't think he fits our style. I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he fits our style.
Well, I listened to something that Barada said. I only listened to it because he came to Man United and doing your research on him, where he spoke about at City, there's almost like this 2-year rule. You have sort of 2 years to essentially prove that you're good enough. And I'm sure there's exceptions to that. There could be some that after 2 years are just starting to show glimpses and you give them another year. There are others that maybe 1 year in, you can just go, yeah, that was a dud, and you move them on. And it's one of the key components as to why Man City have become so successful is because they're ruthless and they make up for their mistakes sooner rather than later in the transfer window, or a player that comes through the academy that isn't progressing. And look, Man United in our pomp were like that. We had young Kiko Makeda that came through, and he came on to a point where, I mean, his debut is going to be that video and that goal against Villa will be played in 100 years' time, especially within Man United quarters. But it didn't take long for Fergie to go, nah, he's not good enough. Did that make, because you can't stand on ceremony. So I do agree that there has to be a conversation, and Arteta has to be ruthless. And the problem that Arsenal fans are going through is they're in this transitional period where when your team is, and I know that LB gets this because he'd have grown up like this. And Henry, I don't know if Henry's so used to it, it's become jaded. But when you're crap, right, and you're not winning anything, you are far more attached to players than when you're winning.
Yeah, spot on.
I grew up when I was a massive David Beckham fan. Like as a kid, I adored the geezer, loved him. But he was sold. And I was probably sad for half a day. And who are we going to buy to replace him? Because Man United was my team, if that made sense. When your team isn't as good, you get latched onto players because that player, like Gerrard at Liverpool, I know he won trophies as well. I know he won trophies as well, so it adds a little bit to it. But when a team isn't at its optimum best, the player and their performances and the praise they get is often your trophy. It's your glory. It's the only enjoyment you maybe get out of your football team. And Arsenal fans are going through this stage where that's all they had for a long time, where it was just the occasional FA Cup and a player to praise, to actually we need to improve as a team. And then, it's like I think one of the most important positions for them to try and fill is someone not to back up Saka, but to challenge Saka's first team position. He needs his position to be under threat. And I think you'll even get an even better Saka, which makes your team better, or you'll get a player that makes your team better. There should be no scruples, no worry, no concern from Aguna about that happening. You look at the situation with City right now. Julian Alvarez is considering leaving because he wants first team football. But his presence is definitely pushed Haaland. Haaland knows if he isn't playing well, there's someone with the brilliant ability of Julian Alvarez ready to snap straight into that first team. And pressure can make diamonds or it can burst pipes. And you really want your club to be a team that's creating diamonds through pressure and not the other way. It was always my biggest issue with Anthony Martial at Man United is when he was the main guy and there was very little competition, he flourished and had good seasons. Every time a Zlatan or a Cavani or a Lukaku turned up, he underperformed. And I think it's because his character didn't take to that challenge. And I think that's okay at a certain level of club. But when you're at a Man City where they are now, when you're trying to achieve what Arsenal are achieving, it has to be ruthless, and you have to bring players in that they're not coming in to be happy just to sit on that bench. You want them to fight every single day. And as a kid, and I relate this to Man United because maybe the older generation will get it, we always felt, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's so happy to be on the bench. He's happy to sit there on the bench and play. You listen to him speak when he retires, he wasn't. He was staying because he was fighting to be a first-team player. And it took him years, but he eventually got that status in the team. That's why he stayed. He didn't stay because he was happy to hold the bench. But that fighting every day in training helped make us a team that won so many trophies. And that is what Arsenal got to look for. So I don't think they necessarily need an out-and-out number 9. I don't. I think listen, they've broken their goal-scoring record 2 years running. But I think their fans have to encourage their club, because I do think fans play an important part. It doesn't matter what position you buy in. Look to improve every single area of your team as best you can. You really have, especially when it comes to the forward positions. Especially when it comes to those forward positions, it's so key. And listen, I look at Eze and I look at Olise being available, and I have felt this for a while. While Arsenal, who listen, I hate saying it, but it's the truth. They're in such a better position compared to the rest of us. Why would those players not choose Arsenal over Man United or Spurs or Chelsea right now? They might have their reasons, but as a general rule, a team that's challenging for the title, a club that's in a good position, playing excellent football, versus two teams in rebuilds and transitions with unknown managers and crazy high lines. Henry, that's for you. Like they should be all over it. They really should be all over it. I'm glad they're not.
You know what? Yeah, but you're right in everything you just said there. Yeah, but Arsenal can't take the foot off the gas because they've got themselves into this position, and there's no doubt Arsenal are a good team. They're a great football team, right? They play good football. They dominate a lot of the games that they play in, and obviously 2 years going for the title. You're not a crap team if you do that. But ultimately, they have fallen short 2 years in a row. I'm not having a dig. I'm just being genuinely serious. They got to keep their foot on the gas, and they have to go in again. They have to look at the squad last year and go, that wasn't good enough, clearly, because you didn't win anything. Who let us down? Now, there's no point, by the way, here in speaking about the Eddie Nketiahs, the Reece Nelsons of the world, because these guys don't play football for Arsenal anyway. Yeah, they're not a part of the team. So they're going. We all know they're probably going. We're looking at the players that are playing good minutes, solid minutes, that actually you need to upgrade on. So, like I say, is it Martinelli? Is it Gabriel Jesus? As Terry said, do you need to get another right winger that can compete with Saka? Possibly the answer to all those questions are yeah. I don't think there's a lot to do. I think defense-wise, you're pretty chill. I think you need another centre-half, personally. I think you could do with another centre-mid, like a Xhaka type player. And then it's about just improving the squad. But you can't take the foot off the gas, man. Arsenal fans this season need to be on their owners, on the board, demanding more players, demanding that they improve because they're so close. This is what the closest they've been to a title in, since the last one 20 years ago. It would be bad for Arsenal now if they just went, we'll just do a little bit here or there. No. Got to keep the pressure on. Got to keep trying to improve. And if that means upsetting a few fans because they sell a few players that some Arsenal fans really like or that they've got an attachment with, well, so be it. You know what I mean? It's a football club. They've got to keep on improving. We'll see, man. Last year, I thought they'd done all right. You know what I mean? Getting the Rice in and that. They obviously got timbered. It didn't work out because of the injury. But I felt like they've shown a bit of intent. Obviously, the Havertz deal was weird, but they still went out and spent the money. They need to do that again. They need to go out there again and go bang, 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 and then go for it.
This super chat here, I agree with what you said, by the way. It says, why is Henry so confident about Eze? Do you know what club you support?
Well, it's simple. There's no one else in for him as it stands. Newcastle have got to sell before they can buy, according to reports. He's under the same agency as 60% of our squad, which is CAA Limited. When he comes to the ground, we gave him and his family a box in the 2-1 win. Afterwards, him and Son were sitting in that box chatting. He's been, as soon as that happened, he started doing a load of other modelling stuff with a lot of the Tottenham players on the catwalk. If there's one marquee signing we're going to sign, it is Eze. No other so-called big top 6 club are in for him. And is he really going to turn down Tottenham from a Crystal Palace? I don't want to hear it.
Unless they're making moves, bro. I'd say
I don't want to hear it. He's not turning down. As bad as we are in terms of our trophy drought, which is 16 long years now, he's not turning us down. And let's be honest, we need him badly because Maddison was a flop. I'll say it. He had 10 fantastic games and then he kind of went up and down, up and down, up and down, and off the radar.
A flop, yeah. You call him a flop, yeah.
Well, let's be honest. He scored 2 goals since from December to May. He scored 2 Premier League goals. Like
he did. He chicken
dipped,
dips, mate. He chicken dipped.
And I think Terry said this about 4 weeks ago. Why was not a big club in for James Maddison?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Just to expand on what
disrespect to Maddison.
Just to expand on what I said is sometimes like Maddison was linked to big clubs every summer for 4 years, and nobody ever came in for him. There's often something in that. You know, like I don't know if you boys ever had a debate with anybody about how good or bad St. Maximin was. The answer was in who he went to after he left Newcastle. Does that make some? And I'm not. And Spurs, you know, the smallest, the tiniest of the top 6, and Maddison had a chance there, and he delivered for 10 games. There's a reason. There's a reason that Arteta and co pulled out of it, and people telling me for years that he was clear of Bruno Fernandes.
It's the same as Bissouma. Bissouma was linked with
Bissouma as well. Bissouma's a great example. Again, I'm not having digging Spurs out because you have signed some good players before. But all fans rated Bissouma. And then he goes Tottenham. And again, he's had 10 good games in 2 years. For me, it shows the reason why he weren't fancied by lots of clubs.
I also, like, as bad as Maddison's been, I also feel that at times Postecoglou didn't necessarily play.
You don't like Postecoglou, do you?
No, I do rate Postecoglou, but I think at times he's tactically naive, and I don't think that's negative. I think that's fair. I think the way
I rate someone who is tactically naive. Does that make sense?
I like a lot of his.
What?
Finish. I like a lot of the characteristics. We play attacking football. I think we've improved at playing out from the back. I like the signings we made under him, Vicario and Van de Ven. I think they've been very, very good in Porro. But what I don't like is, I'll say it, we are tactically naive. And the blueprint to beat Tottenham is to sit in the first 20 minutes and then counterattack us.
The question is about the butt. Is the butt a back with a crack, or is it Kim Kardashian? How big is this butt when it comes to Postecoglou?
I don't know if it's a Kim Kardashian. It might be a Khloe Kardashian or one of the other ones. But this season, he's got a lot to prove because he's come out and on various different press conferences saying he wants a title race. Well, at the moment, I know the squad's nowhere near it. We need probably 10 players in that squad of real quality. But when you're being tactically outclassed by Bournemouth, by Sean Dyche, by Eddie Howe, you know, by all no disrespect to Man United, but when we played them, we should have battered them that second half at Old Trafford. You know, and the first game at our stadium played Man United. If Bruno Fernandes and Rashford don't miss absolute sitters, we'd have lost that game.
Yes.
So the turning point for Postecoglou was when we lost the FA Cup to Man City, because they figured out that Vicario has a vulnerability from corners, and all they kept doing was firing it in at pace at the near post. Then all of a sudden, everyone went, "Hang on, City are on something here," and then we go and concede the third most amount of goals from set pieces in the Premier League. But it's his inability to counter-attack people's
Vicario was an interesting one. Sorry, Vicario was interesting because as soon as he got that, have you seen Rocky IV, Henry? You know, when the Russian gets cut and then he realizes that he's not a machine and then he can be hurt. That was kind of like Spurs and Vicario last year. There's a time where you looked and felt invincible, and then City come along, cut your eye, and it all fell apart. Speaking of the Kardashian, just like a Kardashian marriage, all just fell apart.
Yeah, but now we've got like it's a massive season for him, because we all know what league he's like. As soon as you start falling away from that top 4, that's it. You're gone.
Well, I think he's gone then, bro. Because I think next year, I don't think you're finishing. I'm going to say you're going to finish outside the top 6 next year.
Oh.
That's my.
Who in the Chelsea won't finish above us. They're
Whoa.
Chelsea won't finish above us.
Newcastle will finish above you.
Yeah, Arsenal and City will, and so are Liverpool. I agree.
Newcastle,
no chance.
What do you mean, no chance?
Absolutely no chance.
The disrespect is mad. What do you mean, no chance? You can say maybe not, but we do have to say no chance.
That potentially, hypothetically, could lose their 2 best players.
They're not going to lose the 2 best players.
One of them's going.
And they've got Ten Hag coming back in. And I think Joe Linton's back, maybe. He's been injured all season.
Right, but I'll have a wager. Newcastle will not finish above Tottenham. No chance. Absolutely no. Neither will Chelsea. Man United have got a massive overhaul, right? I think Tottenham.
I think Chelsea finish. Oh, I don't know what manager.
I don't think Villa will as well. I think Villa in the Champions League is going to be similar.
Said that and then he realised who their manager was. Went, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Newcastle will have a step back. One outside team.
Step back? What do you mean step back? They finished 7th. They already had the step back. They're on the comeback, bro. Is what they're doing. You're on the step back. You got the teams mixed up, bro. That's what you done.
I think Villa will have a step back naturally in the Champions League, like Newcastle did. You know, as great as a manager, huh?
Why can't you have a step back? You're all firing the shots off everyone else. Why can't you have a step back? Why can't Spurs have a step back?
Well, we already have our step back. We didn't finish in Europe a couple of years ago. Last season, the first time in 16 years, we didn't finish in Europe.
One step at a time.
I think that the four teams that will finish above us is the top 3. And if it's going to happen, it will be maybe an Aston Villa. But I do think they'll have a step back. I think Tottenham will finish above Man United and Chelsea. This Enzo Maresca, he's had one season at Leicester. No. We don't even know who Man United... I'm saying this based at the moment because we don't know who Man United's manager is going to be. If they employ someone, I'm like, right, okay. But there's a massive overhaul of players at Man United. Like...
Nah, I don't buy it. I think you're finishing outside the top 6, bro.
Oh, God, it's madness.
I'm having it.
I'm going to go with an early Tottenham prediction. Depends on who you sign, everything else. But early Tottenham prediction, it could change. For anybody that's looking to clip me up, I'm going 8th.
8th?
Yeah, I don't think that's a dumb shout, to be honest with you.
The only thing that does worry me is the fact that it's Thursday, Sunday football. With all that being said, though, I think we'll finish 4th.
Really, mate?
What do you mean, really? Like, we finished in the Champions League 7 out of the last 12 years.
Nah.
Or 6 out of the last 12 years, whatever it is. That's not a dumb prediction.
I'm going...
You're basically flipping a coin with that 50-50 then. It's flip of a coin, Spurs, isn't it?
That's what it's been like my whole life, basically. Yeah, I think we'll finish 4th.
The problem is, if I say 7...
finish 4th this season.
Times 2.
Yeah, the thing is, if I think you're going to finish 7th next year, I have to look at the top 8, right? And this is assuming no one below that gets in and think, well, who's going to finish 8th then? I think United don't finish 8th. I think they get better. Newcastle, for me, next year, are Champions League material. Chelsea's a bit of a weird one. We don't really know. Maybe
Newcastle can't... They've got to sell someone before they're going to add to that squad.
Bro, they'll be fine. They'll sort it out, man.
Henry, what I will say about that is, let's wait and see how this 2-week court case goes. Because if City win, the spending spree begins. Because suddenly, Newcastle are getting a new stadium sponsor worth £4.5 billion. So it's over. And by the way, City are fighting for this. City are poor in comparison to Newcastle. They're poor. That's the equivalence of owners. They're poor in relation. So they're going to get £1 billion stadium sponsor. You know, £5 billion shoe sponsor, £5 billion watch sponsor, and they're just going to buy Real Madrid. No,
we should have finished top 4 this season. I don't think that's a stupid prediction. We finished 2 points off of Aston Villa.
But let me throw this out to you though, right? So you did finish 2 points off of Aston Villa, but let me just get the league table up because I want to look at a few other things.
While you're doing that, Villa were miles better than you this year, bro.
Yeah, but they were. I agree. That we were talking about a title race at the beginning of the season, but
they also switched off at the end because they'd already done it. They were already clear, so you kind of caught them by proxy a bit. But let's say you didn't, and you nearly caught them. Chelsea only finished 3 points behind you, and they got laughed at all year.
Yeah, but they're the same as us. They had a much better end of the season. Like they turned it on when the pressure was
looked at as an embarrassment last year. And they only finished 3 points behind you. Newcastle, all their injuries, first year back in Europe, only 6 points behind you. As much praise as your team got last year.
We only got praise for the first 10 games.
Hang on a minute. No. I'm talking about generally speaking. After all the praise you got and all the chest that's come in here, Uncle Fester, Man United only finished 6 points behind you, and it was our worst season ever. I don't think I'm not saying you will come 8th. I'm saying just early prediction before. Listen, no preseason games have been played. No signings have been made. We're all going to change our minds. But I don't think it's inconceivable. It isn't inconceivable that you go from 5th to 8th if you just base it on last season. because you're talking 6 points separates us all. And like you just said, Man United took those chances at home against you that we should have done. That puts us 3 points. That one game would have put you into 7th.
Yeah.
So you're one win away from dropping from 5th to 7th, and you think it's inconceivable you could come 8th.
I don't think it's inconceivable. I just don't think it's realistic.
That's the same thing, mate.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, I don't think it's going to happen. My prediction, I don't think it's going to happen.
Where do you think you're going to finish then? Top 4?
4th, yeah.
Nah,
4th.
No
We're
chance.
2 points off that this season.
Chelsea will finish ahead, but I actually think Chelsea, I'm starting to feel like Chelsea are going to do well. I think Chelsea will finish ahead of you. And Newcastle.
Maybe, but
I agree.
They're starting their kind of process again with a manager that's managed one season in Championship. Like,
that's why I'm a little bit like that on Chelsea, but Newcastle are finishing above you, mate.
Yeah.
And if they don't, he'll be sacked anyhow. That's the truth.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. He will be sacked.
Because that means something's seriously gone wrong, and the Saudis ain't going to wait forever.
I agree. What could help Chelsea more, though, and so transfer room I wanted to throw towards yourself, LB, is they're offering a contract, they're offering a deal to your man, Julian Alvarez.
Yeah.
Whether we think it's going to happen, we'll get to in a minute. How good a signing would he be for Chelsea if they could put it off?
I think it'd be a mint signing. Because they need a striker, they need a goalkeeper. Yeah. That's the 2 major positions in the team. Right? I think we all agree with that. And they've not got a good one in either position right now. So if they got him, what a signing that would be for them. I don't know if they are going to get him, because hopefully my team don't sell him on the cheap if we do sell him. And I don't think he's desperate to leave yet. I think he'll give us another year. I think he's like maybe in the Isak position where like he'll give him another year. But if they can get him in, they've got someone experienced. He's won the World Cup. He's won a treble. He's won back-to-back Prems. He's already played over 100 matches for City. He's only been here 2 years. That's crazy. He's just full of experience. It's wild, isn't it? He's got Prem experience. He's literally like almost a dream signing. So they need to be all over it. If City do decide to sell him, it'll be interesting to see what fee, because I want a decent fee for him. But I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll stay for 1 more year. But he will leave eventually, because either he has to leave or Alvarez is leaving. And now that Haaland's leaving. And now that Mbappe's gone Real Madrid, I don't really see Haaland going Real Madrid. So I think Haaland will stay. That means that Alvarez is going to leave because he ain't going to play.
I think Alvarez is massively underrated. Sorry to cut you off. I think he's massively underrated in that side. He's been there 2 years. He's had 2 very, very good years, both in Europe and out of Europe. He's done well at international level as well. I'm surprised if the rumors are true that he does want to leave. I'm surprised other clubs aren't looking at it. I don't think he'll personally leave either. I agree with LB. I think he will stay. I think if he does leave, that's a big hole in that City City team. Because if Haaland, for whatever reason, got an injury at the beginning of the season, who goes up front if it's not Julian Alvarez?
But bro, we'd obviously sign a striker, innit?
Yeah, I know. But like, if you go into next season and you didn't sign a striker for whatever reason, Guardiola signed another winger, which could happen. Julian Alvarez can play multiple positions as well. He's very versatile. He can play out wide. Sometimes he's played in the 10, sometimes he's played up front. I think he's a top player, but in this market, Julian Alvarez is probably a £90 million player, maybe more.
Yeah, I agree. I said this the other day. I think he's a top rated player. The problem is, you just said over teams. When you actually deep it, there are no teams available for him, because Real Madrid don't need a striker. Barcelona can't afford no one. Bayern Munich have Kane. The other one that has been linked with him is PSG, but they've just spent 160, 170 million on Kolo Muani and what's the other guy called? Barros or whatever his name is. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Ramos.
Not Barros.
Ramos.
Yeah.
The Portuguese guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
do you think Arsenal come in?
I should.
I think that
Join Zinchenko and Jesus.
There's a couple of things. Okay, so one, if Arsenal go to City, it'll again just be like, oh, Arteta's literally just going to City and just getting there seconds. You know what I mean? Which isn't ideal. Also, he's not led the line for City. As good as he's been, he's not led the line. And if he went to Arsenal and didn't perform at the top level like Jesus, everyone would be like, yeah, that's why City sold him. So it'd be a brave call. I don't think he should go Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal should go for him. I think Arsenal needs to stay away from City now. Personally.
I do understand that logic. I feel it's one of these things. I was talking about this before we went live, like in our group chat on Football Terrace, because of the Šeško deal today. There's all this. Oh, it was all PR from his agent. We weren't really interested. Oh, some journalists said it was close and it wasn't. Well, it was. The player was happy with what was offered to him by Chelsea and Arsenal. The clubs were both very close to triggering the release clause. They were just waiting on the player to give his final stamp. Some journalists felt that it was imminent he was coming to England. Others, we had Ben Jacobs on the show last week saying that really good chance he comes to Arsenal, but he could still decide to stay. And then at the 11th hour, he has made his mind up, woke up in the morning and gone, do you know what? I am going to stay here for one more year for whatever reason. And I actually think he's quite sensible to do it. I think too many players leave too young for the real massive clubs. But then you get this whole, no, he didn't reject us. No, he didn't say no to us. Actually, he was never coming. It was all PR. All of that I find just nonsense. The cold, hard light of day, you tried to sign him. He said, no, it's normal. Every single club goes through this in the majority of summers. Arsenal could get rejected by City or rejected by the player. But everyone that's got a realistic chance of potentially getting him, and so the only team I'm saying can't get him is Man United because their rivalry, should be trying to sign him. There is clearly something out there with a number of teams looking at him where maybe, just maybe, people are picking up rumours that he wants first-team football, he believes he's good enough. Make him an offer that he can't refuse. Offer him really good wages, first-team football. If he says no or City say no, so be it. I feel like you have to try. But I almost feel like fans, I don't want us to try in case we don't get him, we'll look silly. No, you won't. You look more silly not trying to get him. In my opinion, I just don't know. For me, I look at it this way. If you're out and you see the girl of your dreams, other side of the room, is it not better to be told no than to not know? I don't know. Maybe that's the way. Maybe that's just the way I look at the world. It's like I like a bit of that. I'm gonna go and say hello. I'd rather get told, listen, I've got a boyfriend, go away, or not interested. Jog on, old man. Do you know what I mean? I'd much rather that. Not that I'm in that space anymore, but I'd much rather that than never knowing. They're never knowing. And I'm a bit bored of fans being weak, basically. You should be pushing for your club. If there's any chance he is available, because this is the last chance probably to sign him. What is he, 22, 23?
24 now.
24. The next club that gets him, that's it. That's
Probably,
it.
yeah.
It's it. You've got one, and he is so good, Alvarez. I'd love my club to go and try and sign him, but there's just no way that Man United and Man City are going to do business in that way. So this whole like, oh no, he won't come. There's no point. You don't know until you try. You know what I mean? You don't know until
They should. I think Chelsea 100% should be trying to get him because he's miles better than everything else. Arsenal, I just don't know if the optics of it looks great going to City again. And I don't know. I don't know. But Chelsea 100% should be trying. Whether he'd go there, don't know. But like you say, don't buy a ticket, can't win the raffle, innit? So
well, look at it this way. Henry, you're getting married soon, right?
Yeah, next September.
Exactly. And if you lot see his missus, you'd all go, how the fuck? Why is she doing that to herself, right? Punching. But if Henry didn't try, he wouldn't be having it because she wouldn't have come to him. Do you know what I mean? So
Mate.
It's one of these things. I just football fans have become weird. Like everyone misses out on a player and they're straight on the internet. Well, how can I find a story or a passage in a story to show that it wasn't really on or really happening? Just deal with it. It's the nature. Just why transfers used to be so much fun. A credible news outlet says, I've heard a rumor that this deal is close. People either get angry or excited about it. We discuss the quality of the player. How could he fit in? Will it work? Who misses out? Who might you sell? Some go through and then you'd have that discussion again. Some fall apart and we'll go, hey, you didn't get him. Where's that gone? It's all gone into, but he said this. And there are some football fans that keep like a tally of all the stories that journalists put out and which ones are right and which one happened. And
keep the receipts.
It's absolutely sickening. Go out and touch grass, you absolute basement dwellers. Honestly. Super chat here. Terry, did Chatty Patty ever wear his Arsenal jersey? He didn't, but we will be sorting that out. Don't you worry. We will be sorting that out. We'll be sorting Patty right out. What would be a change what would be a change you guys would do to football? You have to have a significant impact on the game to improve it on the pitch or out of the pitch. What change to football would you two make?
I'd make the best one, and no one's going to disagree with me. Yeah,
Go on.
Referee protection erased. Let the goal go in. And if the keeper ends on the floor, then VAR check it. Too many times, keepers get touched to go down. It's a foul. Let the goal go in, and then review
goalkeeper
it on
protection. You said referee protection. You mean goalkeeper protection?
Oh, sorry, goalkeeper protection. Get rid of the goalkeeper protection where if you touch him, it's a foul. Let the goal go in, and then if it is a goal, review it on VAR. See if the goalkeeper was fouled, man. That's what I would do straight away.
I like that.
I'd bring in the ref's got to do. I know other leagues have done it, but the ref's got to do an interview afterwards. If it's a big decision that has gone for or against the team, he's then got to do an interview of whoever afterwards, Sky Sports, and explain his reasoning behind his decision. Or do what they do in the NFL, where the referee is mic'd up and tells the crowd. Because when you're in the stadium and you're only seeing one screen, but then when you're on the telly, you're seeing them 5 or 6 different angles. Like there needs to be, the communication has got to be improved.
They ain't got the minerals for that, bro. No way.
No, well, I like it. My ones, I've had this one. I've had a few, right? So I have 2. One was, I don't know how you would implement this. It's not, it wouldn't work, but you can only have up to 8 players in your own half to stop low blocks.
You just want to change the whole sport, bro.
Yeah, I know. But I had that thought when I was younger, and as a United fan, we were good and everybody sat behind the ball. But the other one I would genuinely bring in is harsher punishments for time wasting. So, for instance, every goal kick, every throw in, anything you've got, you have 8 to 10 seconds to take it. If you don't, whistle goes, your opponents get a penalty. Eradicate time waste. I reckon we lose.
Simeone and Jose and all that. Like, you know,
I think we lose. I think we lose 15 minutes per game through time wasting, and we never get it back. So for me, they add it on, and then they time waste and they add it on time, and it's still. So for me, it's the case. If you get a goal kick, you watch next time you watch a football match, watch a goal kick. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes to take it.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's and that's sometimes in a game where you're not really thinking about it, but it goes out and they collect the ball, put it down, do this. It takes a minute or 2. For me, it's like, no, you've got 10 seconds to get the ball back in play or your opponents get a penalty. Eradicate time wasting. The game would be amazing. It'd be amazing.
Can I throw one out? I don't necessarily have this opinion, but someone told me you only get a point for a draw if it's a score draw. You don't get a point if it's 0-0 because you're starting off with a point. You've already got one, like you're not even doing anything. And that, again, could potentially eradicate low blocks because you're getting a point for not doing anything. You only get a point for a score draw, like 0-0.
Yeah.
You don't get anything. Neither team gets
anything. I like that. That's quite a cool one.
That one.
I quite like that. This says that you can't stop the time when the ball is out. I mean, that would also eradicate it. You just stop the clock and then it wouldn't really matter. But it does to a degree because teams do it to get a rest. They do it to get a rest and like, let's relax a little bit. So for me, yeah. And someone says, why a penalty? Because then there's jeopardy to it. You can't, like now you can time waste and just take the yellow card. But now you can't time waste because there's going to actually be a punishment that stops you. But yeah, I just like to see it in a game and see how it works out. I mean, it might ruin football, might make it better, but I do like yours, LB, about that. Super chat here says, do you back the Barada appointment, Terry? Even if City are innocent, the bad PR will follow United. It won't. It just won't. It's not going to. Unless, and the only way it will is if any evidence comes out that has Barada's name over it. If those emails that have been linked were full of, if Barada was copied in on them all, then yeah, it would. But as it stands right now, there isn't a shred of evidence that said he knew anything about anything that allegedly went wrong. So if he's involved, then yes, it will. If he isn't, then it won't. If they're innocent, it definitely won't because he wouldn't have done anything. So yeah, I'm not worried about that personally. Martinelli was injured in 2021, broke into the team in 2022, had a great 2023, and had an inconsistent 2024 due to injury. Henry knows jack.
We can't say inconsistent due to injury and form. That's part of it. You know, your form is what makes you consistent. Like,
True.
He broke into the team in the 2021. That's right, but that's why people slate Grealish because his first year wasn't that great. Is it right? And then he had a great year, and then once again he's inconsistent. So he's had one good season out of the last 3 years. So when LB said earlier, questions have got to be asked about Martinelli, I think it's right. I don't think that's nasty or negative or whatever. I think that's a fair question. Appreciate the super chat, Brian.
Why is no one in for Luiz Mpenda from Leipzig?
I agree.
He cooked us a bit, low key. Like I think we still won both the
he's
games, but yeah, he did low key cook us.
He's done well in 2 leagues now as well. He did well in Liga, and I know the French league isn't rated that highly, but I think he got 23 goals this season in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, no, he did. And when we played him this year, yeah, he was more scary than Sesko. I'll tell you that. In fact, Sesko didn't even start the second game. I'm pretty sure he come off the bench.
You want to get like Agent Doku and be like, listen, if Alvarez goes and you bring in him, because he is a pace machine. If there's any space in behind,
he can finish. He can finish. He can finish, man. And you got to be able to get goals. Nah, he was a scary player, man. How old is he?
Like 24 as well. 24, 25.
Great age. You know what I mean? That's a solid deal. How much do you reckon you get him for?
70, 80 million euro. 70 million pound, I reckon you get him for 80 million.
I ain't getting him then, bro. I'm not selling Alvarez for 70.
No, if you get like 90 million and Alvarez decides to go, that's a very good replacement there.
Yeah, I suppose that's the one side of it. Yeah, I mean, I would take Alvarez over him overall.
Yeah, of course.
But then I've seen him more, so that's a little bit unfair. But at the same time, if Alvarez wants to leave and you guys let him go, then it becomes decent. But I'm not too sure why people are not in for him. I mean, I don't know personally enough about. I did watch the game against City where he's absolutely on fire, but it's so just have a little look at his profile here. What is he? He's 20. I mean, he's 24 years of age. He's not a kid. He's not a kid by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't even know he was from Belgium. There you go. I've done very, very little research into the guy. Probably, I'll tell you as to why. Because he's just gone to Leipzig. He's only been there a year, and that'll probably be the reason as to why. Because that's going to give him. I think people will probably look at him and go, "Let's see one more year." But having said that, I know he was in this 2022-23 season. He was in Ligue 1 with Rennes, and he scored 21 goals. Year before that, he was in the Eredivisie. He scored 24 goals. He's been scoring good amounts of goals for the last 2 or 3 years. I suppose people are just. Will it translate to the Prem or other leagues? But if he has another, I assume he's gone to the Euros.
Yeah.
He's got to have gone to the Euros. If he has a good Euros or another good season with Leipzig, surely more people will be in for him because he looks very, very good to me. And he's got one thing he's got one thing that's so important in the Premier League above the finishing, which is probably the hardest skill in the world. He's got the speed for it. And having that kind of speed in the Premier League is very, very, very important indeed. Look, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in for the show today. It's always a pleasure. We're back tomorrow with more content for you, including Straight Facts with Mo and Hussam. This stream is going to take you through to Hussam and Mo's channel. So go and support them. I think they're going live very, very soon. So go and check that out. LB, Henry, thank you both for joining. And I always appreciate it, boys. It's always a great chat. If you haven't joined our group chat yet, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link below and get that done as well. Until next time, everybody take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you.